The coronavirus pandemic is affecting every section of American life. Education is one of the most visible industries to experience disruption. Tonight, we talk with the president of the state's largest university about the institution's response to the crisis. I'm Michael Shivley, and this is a News Channel Nebraska exclusive presentation. 51,000 students are enrolled through the University of Nebraska's Kearney, Lincoln, Omaha, and Medical Center campuses. 14,000 more are employed through the university system. The man leading NU is President Ted Carter. We sat down with President Carter to discuss the University of Nebraska's response to the coronavirus crisis. President Carter, the Board of Regents, they selected you as the priority candidate on October 25th. You were officially installed by the Board of Regents on December 5th. There's no way then that you could have predicted 4 months later our conversation would be about a global pandemic and the university's response. You described it once as a unique challenge and uncertainty. I really like that. I'm excited to hear your perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Well, Michael, I would tell you that what I have learned here over my 2+ months in the job is I feel a sense of validation that I'm where I'm supposed to be, where I'm most needed. And as challenging as these times are, I'm very thankful for the people I have surrounding me that I work with. This is a great team here in Nebraska.
You come from a military background, serving in the Navy. You were superintendent of the Naval Academy. So you've dealt with crisis, but combat and training is so different than this crisis. Is there anything in your background that you're drawing on for this situation?
I'd say the things that I draw on are how to bring people together as a team, how to give them a sense of calm that we're thinking through, being thoughtful about the decisions that we do make, that we're not doing them in a vacuum. And that we're doing the things in the right order of priority. In other words, we're taking care of our people, our students, our faculty, our staff, our community first. We're taking a good look at our mission, and then we're having a long-range view at what it's going to take to be successful.
So your most recent decision is that all university staff will start working remotely on Monday. How can the university continue its functions without the staff at the facilities?
Well, the great news is some people did some great work here well before I came here in terms of going to a single IT system across our 4 main campuses, the type of technology that we've brought to bear so that we can do our jobs normally, in our offices and our campuses. So the decision to go to a remote education program for our 51,000 students, there's still some challenges with that, but we were in better shape to do that than a lot of other college campuses. As far as the rest of our faculty and staff, our hourly wage workers, our student workers, we wanted to make sure that we weren't disadvantaging anybody through this situation, but we also wanted to make sure that we could continue on with the work. So even though we said we'd be doing this on Monday, we started putting people on remote work as soon as we were able to do it. There's still a lot of details, making sure people have the right tasks, the right files, equipment like laptops and all the different applications. But to my view, watching how well everybody's working, people have risen to the occasion. Really proud of the workforce.
And you made a step to help protect people if they were needed to be quarantined, where they get 80 hours of emergency paid administrative leave. That goes for temporary workers, student workers, full-time employees. Why was that a priority for you?
Well, again, I wanted to make sure that, first of all, we're taking care of everybody individually, their family members, our students, of course, their families and our community. We wanted to make sure that we continued on mission, but ultimately we didn't want to disadvantage anybody because of this situation. So we did that because it was simply the right thing to do.
Now, you have something called the NU Emergency Assistance Fund. People might not be familiar about that, but you are soliciting donations online. What is that fund?
So that was a fund that was created in the wake of the horrible flooding that happened last year. It's still active. We're working through the details of how to exactly mechanize that to make sure that we're helping those that are most in need.
So that's your workers. You have 51,000 students that are really getting affected by this. All classes after spring break are going to be remote. That's a shock for many students. What have the processes been like to prepare students and faculty for that change?
Well, we first wanted to make sure that our faculty understood what that would mean. As you're aware, we have a lot of online education programs that use very unique online education tools. But a lot of our other programs, some of them are more experiential in nature, laboratories, hands-on learning. We're trying to find out innovative ways, besides just the normal classroom type things that we can put online, so that we can deliver real, meaningful education. This is what we owe our students, and everything we do here is for our students, keeping them and their interests in mind. They paid a tuition to come here and get educated. We want to make sure that they're getting their full money's worth. We owe those, especially to those that are, one semester away from graduating. We're thinking about them, and we're thinking about making sure that all of our students feel that they're being taken care of. You probably saw the details of the refunds that we offered through housing and fees and parking. Again, we did this because we felt it was the right thing to do. We've also kept our campuses open because for a lot of our students, this is where they live. Our international students, many of our out-of-state students, they really don't have any other place to go. So unlike many other state university systems across the nation, we did not hand eviction notices to all of our students saying, hey, we're closing, go find somewhere else to live. Now, we have some of the challenges with some of the Greek houses. We even make sure we're taking care of those students. So I think it's really important that we keep faith with our students and their families to know that we are all about the educational mission while also taking care of them. We're keeping an eye on everything from commencement exercises. We're going to have commencements. They might be done virtually depending on where we are. And we're even thinking about how do we go through virtual tours of our campuses through the summer so that we have a whole new crop of new students coming, and how do we accept them and bring them into the fold for the Nebraska system.
I'm glad you brought up commencement. For seniors, this has to be especially jarring. They've dreamt forever of that cap and gown, and that might not be a reality this year. What specific things are you looking at when you're making the decision on if you can have commencement or not?
Well, we certainly want to celebrate their achievements. Graduation is an amazing day, whether they're an undergrad, master's program, or PhD. We want to celebrate that with them, so we're going to keep that intent intact. So if we are still not allowed to have large group gatherings, we'll find a way to do this virtually. We have some amazing talent within our students. At the Carson Center for Emerging Arts, for example, there's already people working on some unique ways that we can put our students in a cap and gown, walk across an imaginary stage that can be turned into a virtual stage where a student and their family might be able to watch themselves actually walk across the stage and get their diploma. So we are going to do that. It may be different than any other campus in the country. I don't know what other campuses are doing, but we are going to celebrate it appropriately.
I'm sure they're excited that possibility still exists. Right. That's the short term, but you're not just planning for the short term. This is a long-term view. Summer classes, fall classes, what has to be fixed or what does the climate have to be like nationally in order to have those happen in person?
So it's the hardest question to answer right now. How long will we be in this situation? As we're doing this interview right now, 1 in 5 Americans across our entire population are in a lockdown status between the entire state of California and the state of New York. So, this is a new space we're in. Those lockdowns are going to happen for 30 days. We're very fortunate here in Nebraska. As challenging as this time is, we're not going through that level of experience, although we're certainly seeing some of that in Omaha and Lincoln. But we are thinking the long range. What does the long term look like? The economic impact? How do we keep the mission going forward? We don't have all the answers to that. We'll be transparent about that as we come up with what right looks like and what next looks like. I do know this. The value of education is not going to change. The need for education to be successful, whether you're working in Nebraska or working anywhere in our country or around the world. So we're going to have a place for our young people to come and be educated. We recognize that the in-residence program is really what young men and women really want to have. I know we'll get back to that at some point, but we're going to do it at the appropriate time. In the meanwhile, we're going to have educational programs available and do it very well online, better than others.
And for now, it's going to become the new normal, online classes, online teaching. How does this becoming the new normal affect the future of secondary education?
Yeah, I think we're going to learn things just as we lived with a lot of new normals after 9/11, 19 years ago. I think there's going to be new normals that come out of this. Do we see a period of time when we're still filling up memorial football stadium with our Nebraska fans and cheering on Big Red, absolutely, that will come back at its appropriate time. But I do think the value of online education, how well it's done, how it's packaged, how it's delivered, necessity truly is the mother of invention. And we're in that space right now. Crisis even adds it to another level. And we're learning things every day about how to deliver educational products, how to best educate young men and women, not just here in Nebraska, but now we can reach out and touch them all over the country and all over the world. So there's going to be some valuable lessons that'll come out of this. And I want to be the university system that gets it right. So we've challenged our faculty. They are stepping up in a big way. And it doesn't matter whether they're in Kearney, Omaha, or here in Lincoln. I've been so impressed by what I've seen coming out of our faculty thus far.
Lots are getting national attention. You're wearing your Nebraska medicine pin and UNMC grabbing headlines. What's that like for you as president of the university system to see one of your campuses excelling and really being on the forefront of battling this crisis?
So I knew before I came here that the gold standard for medical school and medical center and medicine at large was right here in Nebraska. I did know about that. I mean, and they are nationally recognized. But they're showing now more than ever that they are the leaders in infectious diseases. They're the ones that are working 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for how to bring solutions to some of these pandemic problems. They've been thinking about this for years, but there's still so much more to do. But that said, I'm so proud of Chancellor Jeff Gold, Dr. Chris Cradaville, and the entire team at UNMC. They are truly leading, not just here in Nebraska, but for our nation.
Does this give a chance to expand that institution or expand what they're offering, the fact that they're getting this national recognition and the fact that they are having such groundbreaking research? There's
no question that there's a need for biocontainment. We have some of that capability now, but it's in the 20s and the 50s of number of beds. So nationally, there is going to be a need for that. There's going to be a lot of discussion about that. It's not in the immediate need. I mean, we're into crisis management on this problem nationwide. But I do think long range, our nation at the different federal institutions are going to be looking at this across the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services. There's a proposal and plans to look at how we can build that capability right here in Omaha.
You're not just dealing with university officials when you're battling this situation. You have to talk with state officials and people in government. What has that process been like?
Well, just as the University of Nebraska touches all of Nebraskans and people from all over the country, we've been remarkably coordinated with the governor's office. I've been very appreciative of his leadership. We talk almost daily on numerous issues. But across the other educational leaders at the state level, at the superintendent of schools across all of the counties here in the state, our state system for those colleges, as well as the community colleges, and even K through 12. We have been coordinated throughout. And we haven't done anything in a vacuum. We want to make sure that what happens in Lincoln or in Omaha or in Kearney, there's an understanding of how that works across the whole state. So I've been very impressed by the coordination and leadership across all of these elements of what it takes to run the state of Nebraska.
You've been dealing with Nebraskans throughout this. This first came to your attention back in December and January, you were saying, and so you've been talking with people for a long time about this specific issue since it started. How have Nebraskans reacted? What have you learned about Nebraskans through dealing with this crisis?
Well, just as I learned when I first started to meet Nebraskans across the whole state in November when I was getting vetted, at the time of crisis, you want to be surrounded by the people that understand what it means to be hardworking, to be genuine, to be honest. That's what I see here in Nebraska. The motto about Nebraska being the good life, there's no question that I'm seeing that being validated every day here. So I'm really, really thrilled to be surrounded here. I'm proud to be a Nebraskan at this point. I've seen the best of people across our country show up right here in terms of being willing to accept those that were infected with coronavirus coming off of cruise lines. We brought those people here where other states wouldn't even accept them. People have stepped up and done a fantastic job. But there's still a lot more work to do. But I know I can count on one thing. The people in Nebraska that work so closely with us here at the University of Nebraska, we're going to all be okay.
President Carter, it's been an intense 4 months for you on the job here. We look forward to seeing what the university does in reaction, and we'll be watching eagerly.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. University of Nebraska President Ted Carter saying he wants to be the university system who gets it right. Carter says NU will be trying things that other universities won't, that this could alter how schools offer their services, and that the value of education will endure. Right now, faculty members are pivoting to remote instruction, and staff at one of the university's campuses are at the forefront of the fight against the new coronavirus. We dive deeper with University of Nebraska Medical Center Chancellor Dr. Jeffrey Gold and UNL Administrator Dr. Judy Walker.
Nebraska's higher education leaders are reassuring residents and students. They say that not only will students continue to receive top-notch schooling, but that the state's medical students couldn't be in a better place.
We are as well positioned as any community in the United States in terms of our ability to understand what's going on, to proactively respond, and also to answer questions and hopefully allay fears and concerns to the best of our ability to do that.
The University of Nebraska Medical Center built its reputation as a leader in pandemic preparedness during the Ebola crisis. The institution is building on that status with its role in battling COVID-19. In Lincoln, Associate Vice Chancellor for Faculty and Academic Affairs, Dr. Judy Walker, says UNL students will stay on track.
Everybody is approaching this in a very collaborative and cooperative way, and really wanting what's best for our students and what's best for our employees. And if we get, I think that where we're going to be at the end of this is proud of that we were able to get through it.
UNMC students may even get firsthand experience during the crisis.
And they're just amazing young women and young men, and they all are saying the same thing. Let's roll up our sleeves and help. So a number of our students are still actively involved in providing clinical service as we sit here today. Certainly all of our almost 600 residents and fellows are on the front lines.
Walker says her office is working to prepare professors to teach remotely and make sure all students have access to online materials.
To make sure that our students continue to progress to their degrees. No one's graduation should be delayed. Everybody needs to get what they need to get. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be high quality education that does the job.
Stay with NCN for the most local coverage of the coronavirus and its impact on Nebraska. This was an exclusive News Channel Nebraska presentation. Go to newschannelnebraska.com for expanded coverage of the University of Nebraska and its response to the new coronavirus.